How about we start with a little book haul?
Yeah.
Because I did a little book shopping today. I had some fun. So, how many books do you have to haul?
Oh, heck. I do have 5.
Whoa!
I've lost control. Sue me.
Okay, well, I have 2.
Okay.
So, we can go back and forth.
Yes.
How about you
Okay,
start us off?
I'll start. So I received a book in the mail that is coming out April 30th. So that'll be just around the corner when this episode comes out. It's called The Swans of Harlem. 5 Black Ballerinas, 50 Years of Sisterhood, and the Reclamation of a Groundbreaking History by Karen Valby. Quite the title. So I think the subtitle kind of explains everything that this book is about, so I don't really need to go into it. But this was sent to me by Penguin, so thanks again to Penguin for hooking me up with this book. Because I heard about this, I want to say a few months ago, and was like, oh, I need this book. Because I feel like dance kind of fits into the same niche interest as like gymnastics for me. Like I just am really interested in this whole world. It's 2 separate worlds, but it all kind of fits together in my mind. So I'm really, really excited to kind of get into the nitty gritty of some of the history there. So yes, very excited about that.
That's really cool. That sounds great. The first book I will haul, I have actually told you about this book, Raylene. I was doing some research into mermaid books.
Oh, yes.
And I was looking into whether any bookshops near me here in London were stocking them, and if I liked the UK covers versus the Canadian covers, etc. And one of the websites I was on was like, they didn't have it. They didn't have it in stock. But they were like, you might also like this one. And they recommended Monkey Grip by Helen Garner. And I was like, well, I am completely sold by the cover instantly and completely.
That's my favorite cover.
Completely obsessed. Yeah, I'm obsessed with this. And yeah, wow, I'm obsessed with it. It's so beautiful. I wonder who did this artwork. It probably says cover illustration by Kate Jansen.
Good job, Kate.
A genius. Oh, it says there's like a whole bio about the cover illustrator.
Oh,
I feel like
cool.
I never see that. Let's see. After studying illustration at Portsmouth College of Art, Kate lived and worked in London for many years in the window display industry. Wow. Before embarking on a new life in Australia, where she creates colorful graphic pieces with acrylic paint on canvas in her home studio in Mount Martha, a suburb of Melbourne, and the setting of some of Helen Garner's books. You can see more of her work at wowhouse.com.au.
Wow. Very cool.
You know what? I think we should probably do bios for the cover artists. That's cool.
That's really
Now that
cool.
I've seen it, I like it. Neat. As you all know, I have an interest in swimming. It's kind of related to the mermaid thing, maybe a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
I just love swimming. I swim every day in the summertime at my local community pool. I would do it more if they were open more, but they're only open in July and August, and so that's when I swim. I know, it's brutal. But this book sounds so good, and I'll just read the synopsis, because obviously it sold me on it. Actually, this seems like a different synopsis. Don't you hate that? When what you read sold you on it, and then when
It's
you
like a
have
different
is, like,
movie
slightly
trailer.
different.
Like you could watch a really good movie trailer and then you watch a shitty trailer and you're like, that is not even close to what I want.
To what hyped me. Yeah, 100%. Okay, well, let's give this a shot. In 1970s Melbourne, Nora is a happy woman. She is happy moving between the city's communal households and her little daughter. Happy with days spent at the public pool and nights spent dancing and drinking and talking and smoking and loving freely. But then Nora meets Javo. Javo with his crooked, wrecked, wild face and his violently blue eyes. And soon she is trapped in the monkey grip, see what we did there, of his drug addiction and her own obsessive love for him. On its first publication in 1977, Monkey Grip was both a sensation and a lightning rod due to its frank portrayal of the lives of Garner's generation. Now a modern classic, it introduces us to Helen Garner's dazzling and radical literary voice. That wasn't as bad as I thought.
Okay.
It's definitely not as catchy as the one that I sent you, but it sounds so great. It seems like a lot of it is set at this public pool, which really excites me. It's cool that it's set in Australia and like by an Australian, not like it's about Australia. I don't think I've read an Australian book in the last few years. So that's really cool. And it just seems like a perfect spring summer book.
I want it.
Also, I sent it to Raylene because not only because of the cover, but also because you were talking about how much you're enjoying 70s books, and this is from the 70s. So
Yeah, I definitely want
cool.
that now. Swimming and
Raylene,
the 70s
they had
in
it.
Australia.
They had it on a table with a few other of her books that
Whoa.
they've published in all of these same kinds of illustrations. Like it's like a matching set.
I see. I'm gonna have to
Impeccable.
look that up on Black Whales.
Yeah, impeccable.
Cool. Well, I yesterday went and just wanted to do some kind of running around. It was raining, so I was like, I don't know, let me just get out of the house and do something. So I went to the thrift store, and then after that, I went to the bookstore. So I'll start with my thrift store find because I went there first, and it was such a good find. The Three Body Problem by Sushin Liu, translated by Ken Liu. So this is fun because Kyle and I just started watching the Netflix show. We've watched the first 2 episodes and I am obsessed. Like, it is so good. But I'm also like, while I've been watching it, I'm like, I wonder how true to the book this is, because the book is, or the show is very much like set in the UK, but I know that the author is from China. So I wonder how much of that has been changed just for the show. But it does still have like a big China aspect as well. But I'm very intrigued to see if the book is different. I just get this vibe that it's going to be different. So I'm really excited to read it. But it's like in perfect brand new condition. I could not believe I found this at the thrift store. And I immediately went back to the bookstore and I was like, I no longer need this book. Thank you so much for trying, but I found it. And yeah, the girl I talked to was super jealous that I found this because she also wants to read it. But yeah, this is just like a cool sci-fi book. I don't really know like where the rest of it is going to go because we're just watching the show and I don't really know anything about it, so I'm not gonna look too far into that. But I do want to say that the show is really good so far. Like, I highly recommend it.
Cool. Okay, the other one that I got was a little bit of an impulse purchase. I like picked it up, I read through it, I was like, that seems really cool, but I probably wouldn't read that soon, so maybe I shouldn't get it. And I put it back down, I walked around the shop. And by the way, I forgot to mention, both of these were purchased at the same shop. It's the Tottenham Court Road Waterstones, and I have some B-roll footage of it that I took, and I'll also put some photos on the Instagram of it. It's such a beautiful shop. It's like a really, really beautiful shop. And I never go there because it's so close to Foyles, which is my favorite bookshop of all time, that I'm always like, oh, I'm just going to go to Foyles and spend all my money there. So why would I go to this Waterstones? But I haven't been there in a while. And so I was like, it would be cool to go there. And then also, I'm going to be hanging out with Lena in a few days. And we're going to be doing a whole Foyles trip.
Ooh, okay.
And so I was like, actually, you know what? I won't go. I'm going to save it.
Yeah.
I'm going to save it till later this week when I go with Lena. I don't need to worry or panic. And so I went to the shop today. But yeah, so I went around the shop again and then I was like, you know what? Actually, I'm still thinking about it. I do really want it. So it's this little book called Philosophy of the Home by Emmanuel. I don't know how to pronounce that last name. Kochia, maybe. Kokchia. It says, a bedroom, a kitchen, a bathroom, are these what make a home? The places we inhabit, argues philosopher Emmanuel Kochia, are far more important than that. We build homes not simply to protect ourselves or to satisfy our aesthetic tastes, but in order to attain happiness. So it's basically like all of these musings and philosophical ideas about what is a home. And I have really been I've been thinking about home a lot ever since I bought my own home, right? I bought a house and that like shifted my whole brain into being like, what makes a home? Why do we care so much about owning a home? And like all of these sorts of ideas are so fascinating to me. It's one of the reasons I think that I love Anne of Green Gables, because that book is all about home, right? That book, like Green Gables, it's Anne of Green Gables, her home. Like that's in the title. It's titular, Raylene. It's in the title. So I find that whole concept very interesting. And so, yeah, I thought this sounded really cool. And this would definitely be a Studious Potato type book.
Studious Potato, of course.
Seems really cool. Ooh, there's a section on social media. That would be really interesting, I bet, because maybe it talks about how we are all like faking what our homes look like. So
yeah, maybe
good online.
I wonder what the approach is there. Very
right?
Interesting.
All right. While you talk about your next book, I'm going to turn on a light because it's getting dark in here.
Okay. So yeah, my last few books were from my little browsing around my local used bookstore, which was really fun because I brought in some books for to give them as well, like to sell to them. And so I was like, oh, I'll just browse around, see what's around
Cool.
here. And so I really did kind of like a deep dive of some sections that I haven't really looked at too much. So in the fiction section, I found An American Marriage by Tayari Jones, which I have already read. This is a book I read a couple of years ago and loved. I read it on audiobook, and I've been meaning to pick up a copy ever since then. So I happened to find it finally, and I was like, yeah, I'll just pick that bad boy up. So that one was a nice find. But then I also, in the fiction section, found a new book. Well, not a new book, but a book that has newly become something I really want. And that is The Girls by Emma Cline.
Oh,
which
that
just
makes so
makes
much
sense.
sense.
Yeah, it's set like in the late 60s. We've got a bunch of girls like joining a cult. Like, it's just exactly what I
Yeah.
want right now. So I'm thinking this may have to kind of take the place of some of my gold books that I've been wanting to read this year, because I really want to read that now. And then the last book I got was from a section that I discovered at the bookstore, which was called like Books About Cooks or Books for Cooks, something like that. And so that book is Heat by Bill Buford, which is one that has been kind of on my radar for a while. I've been looking for it and just haven't found it yet, but it's another chef memoir. And I think this guy
Cool.
worked with Mario Batali. Yeah, he worked with Mario Batali. So very interesting stuff. So yeah, I'm excited about that. I love my weird little pile that's just got like all of my niche interests. I've got a dance
Yeah.
book, a cooking book, a 70s book.
Without spoiling anything, that last book reminds me, I did buy one other book today that I bought for Raylene. But I can't tell you about it because I want it to be a surprise.
Show it to the
And
people. I
had
won't
it-
look.
No, I won't. I don't even have it here. I'm not gonna. You're gonna watch this footage later.
I'm closing
I know
my
you.
eyes.
So we'll all discover that together. But this was back when I was looking to see. I was still in Canada. I was looking to see if bookshops near where I was going to be staying would have the mermaid books. And one of the websites was like, "You might like this," and I was like, I know Raylene would like that. I was like, I have to buy that. So I put it on my list and I was like, I'm just going to buy it today so that I don't forget.
Yeah.
Okay,
good.
And so
I won't buy
bought
anything.
that today.
I'll
for you.
stop buying books to make sure there's no overlap.
Until you get this one. I did have one last thing I wanted to haul, and it was a little stationery shop visit. So I've definitely talked about Present and Correct before on the podcast. They're this really beautiful stationery shop here in London, and they've moved location. The last time I was here, I went and I was talking with the owner, and he was like, we're actually moving locations. And I was like, oh, that's so exciting, because they were moving to like a bigger spot. And so I was really excited to go there, and I went, and it's just as beautiful. Oh my God, that was the loudest vibration sound that's ever existed. I find that the vibration on this thing is like kind of freaking me out lately. Let's go into Do Not Disturb. It's shocking I wasn't already in it. I agree. Anyways, I was really excited to go and visit the shop the second time because he had told me that we were expanding, and I was like, oh God, I gotta go. And so I just picked up a couple little things. The first thing is this card that says happy birthday. It's so cute. I've started a new system where on the last day of every month, I go through my calendar and I look at the coming month. So like on April 30th, I'll do this for May. I'll go through May and I will see, are there any of my friends I want to send cards to? Usually it's a birthday card, but like last month I sent my friend a card. It was a little preemptive. Now that I think about it, I took a risk, but I felt so sure. I sent her a card like congratulating her on getting her PhD because she was defending later that week, and I was like, what if she hadn't gotten it? That would have been like a kind of a gut punch.
Yeah,
but I knew
that
she
would've sucked.
I knew she would. And I've sent a couple to people who have been announced that they're pregnant and just being like, oh, I definitely want to send this friend a card saying congrats. Or some people I've sent them cards for like they bought a house, and I'm like, happy new
Wow,
home.
you're such a good friend.
So it's just been so nice, and it kind of feels like the kind of person I want to be. Do you know what I mean by that? Where it's like you have all these like little aspirational things about yourself. You're like, one day I'm going to be the kind of person who does this. And I realized that if I didn't figure out a system for this to happen, it wasn't just going to spontaneously happen. So I started doing that on January 1st, actually. I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. And I did it for January and then for February and March and April. And so now to May. And so now it's starting to just feel like a habit. And I really am looking forward to it. It's also been good because for years I have been buying beautiful cards and they're just sitting there. Now I'm actually kind of burning through them every month. I'm sending out at least 3 or 4 cards.
That's beautiful.
And so now it's fun because I'm like buying them more intentionally. So that's awesome. I got a beautiful ruler. God, I love stationery and I love rulers. I specifically do really love rulers. I think they're so beautiful. Beautiful. And then finally, I bought this little print that was clearly like flashcards for someone at like an old school or something.
Yeah.
And it just says 9 minus 7 equals 2. And I just think that it's so beautiful. It was 75p. I was like, yeah, I want that. That's mine
It's
now.
mine now.
I really wanted to find one that was like George Orwell-esque.
That's
was
what
like
it was
2
made me
plus
think
2.
of.
I know, but all of them were subtractions. There was
Damn.
no additions.
You have to make your own.